at all. It's still game number 1. We might be walking into a bloodbath here.
Yeah, you talk about Genesis Hydra. Oftentimes you see cards like Boon Satyr or Fanatic of Xenagos in that spot. And looking like we're walking into the end of game 1. Yeah.
I said we might be walking into a bloodbath. We are walking into a bloodbath. Gabe Holgar is going to win game number 1 over here over Nathan Fabilenia. Abzan Aggro is up a game over Green Red Dragon, which means we can turn our attention to the sideboard. That's where Nathan's going to be going. You've got that in front of you, so we can take a look, Skipoo.
All right, looking at Nathan Fabilenia's sideboard. So the list: 3 Seismic Rupture, 3 Nylea's Disciples, 2 Display of Dominance, 2 Rending Volley, 2 Nissa Worldwaker, a Roast, and 3 Seismic Rupture. There are some options for him here. Rending Volley is actually pretty reasonable. Deals 4 damage to a white or blue creature. There's plenty of 4 toughness white creatures that I'd love to kill for 1 mana in Gabe's deck. Roast also seems pretty reasonable. Outside of that, I'm not sure how much of this he can put in.
Yeah, Rending Volley is kind of interesting because the targets you have are Anafenza, you've got Wingmate Rock, you've got Fleece Mainline. You can't kill Siege Rhino, unfortunately. So you've got some decent targets there. It's kind of narrow, but I don't think it's too bad, actually. I mean, you definitely want the additional copy of Roast. I think that one's obvious. You've got a lot of targets for that. It's at its actual best against Abzan, so I expect to see that come in.
Yeah, outside of that, I don't know that he's going to change up his deck that much.
We'll see how things go. I mean, game 1 did not go very well as we joined it. We'll take a look at Gabe's sideboard: 2 Mistcutter Hydras, 2 Bile Blights, a Valorous Stance, a Hero's Downfall, a Crux of Fate, 3 Drowning Sorrows, 2 Duress, 2 Self-Inflicted Wounds, and a copy of Thoughtseize.
Well, I'm interested in Self-Inflicted Wound once again. It's matchup. Now, a lot of his threats are red, so there's some danger there. That said, I believe I'd still want to put it in. Hero's Downfall sounds good from the Abzan Aggro deck. It's interesting. So the Green Red Dragons deck at first glance is bigger. It goes up to cards like Dragonlord Atarka, Genesis Hydra, Stormbreath Dragon, things that are much bigger than the Abzan creatures. But there's this, it's interesting because turns 1 through 5, say, favor the Abzan Aggro player. And if Nathan survives through those turns, then his dragons start winning around turns 6 through 10. But then if the game goes past turn 10, suddenly starts to switch back toward Abzan Aggro. Because if you get into this matchup of attrition of, drawing extra cards, making resilient threats, Abzan Aggro is actually better at that than the Green Red Dragons deck.
This is true. Well, game number 2 going to be underway here in just a bit. It's been a really nice tournament for Gabe Holgar. I mean, we talked about Abzan Aggro, and understandably so, because we're going to see a lot of it. And we saw Jerry Thompson, Todd Anderson, Danny Jessup playing it this weekend. Different build than Gabe, but most played deck in day 2 yet again here on the Open Series. Very popular deck among the players that showed up here in Dallas, all 734 of them. But he's the only one into the top 8 with the deck. Though if he does make it through and win another game here, he's got a tough matchup in front of him in Abzan Control.
As tough as they come for Abzan Aggro. I play Abzan Control. I usually like this matchup, but I sure still lose it sometimes. We've seen Abzan Aggro defeat Abzan Control this weekend. No.
We will talk very quickly about the regional championship here with Star City Games. August 1st, our summer regionals, thanks to you guys who have played in our other regionals and our states programs, we're able to keep doing these things and make awesome play mats like this one you see.
Yes, like you said, we have state championships and regional championships happening during PT weekends. Next one coming up August 1st. And what we know about is we already have a playmat designed for it. This is a parody of the Oscars picture for Ellen DeGeneres. We'll be giving that one away at our regionals. Find out about that and more information will continue to be posted at starcitygames.com/regionals.
And we've got so many different things to prepare for this year with Grand Prix Charlotte, as you guys already know, and then there's Grand Prix London. There'll be a Grand Prix in Atlanta. We've got all these invitationals. Rolling out a bunch of new stuff. So we'll have more details soon for you guys at starcitygames.com/regionals. Look forward to that date, though. August 1st, Pro Tour weekend, playing regionals, get this awesome playmat, win some cash and prizes, and be the regional champion as well as we get ready here for game number 2 between Holgar and Fabilenia. Winner of this plays against someone who, we've actually seen a lot of really good Magic here in Dallas, and John Lynn has really impressed me with this play all weekend long.
Especially when you look at even just the way he was able to close out game 3 of the first round, particularly impressive. He's finding narrow plays that help him win games, and that's been really neat. Obviously, last round, I don't think we saw that on display as much. He played very sound Magic, and he survived, and then he cast those Siege Rhinos.
Yeah, there were no narrow plays necessary in his last match.
Took a giant hammer to the red deck.
That's what Abzan can do sometimes. Sometimes it's straightforward. Cast Courser, cast Rhino. Oh, you're dead.
Cast another Rhino.
Yeah. It's funny. There's this narrative that Rhinos show up in packs, but it's becoming true. Do you draw 2 Siege Rhinos a lot?
It is just the worst feeling playing against. When you're just like, oh, it's another Siege Rhino.
Yeah, like rarely is there a game where if they draw one, they only draw one, which is a pretty ludicrous thing to say, but they seem to come in packs, actually. But I think every time someone casts a Siege Rhino, how it feels is magnified, because it never feels good.
No, there's just so much value.
Hey, Rugged Highlands is how Fabilenia is going to start things. He's up to 21. Temple of Silence there for Holgar. Does Nathan have the acceleration?
Interestingly, Nathan has boarded in cards like Nissa Worldwaker. Looking to really jump out to that early start, you see a pair of mana accelerants. He could make Worldwaker as early as turn 3.
That would actually be pretty good if he's able to play it on turn number 3. Picked up a copy of Temple of Abandon. The question is, does he have a land that enters the battlefield untapped for maybe the turn 3 Nissa? He moves a mountain to the front of his hand, so it seems like the answer is yes.
Yeah, seems reasonable. Now, if he's worried about heroes, yeah, he's not really should be worried about anything. Nissa turn 3 is great.
Yeah, I mean, Hero's Downfall is a minor concern, a concern in the fact that he gets to kill my Nissa with it, but if that happens, cool, I've got a 4/4 left behind. Those are the kind of exchanges that I think Nathan wants to make here.
See what he goes, but I can't imagine you want to overthink this one. Just start animating your lands. It's a lot of pressure on Gabe if he does.
There's a 4/4. Nissa will tick up to 4. Pass that turn back. Yeah, I mean, this forces Gabe to have untapped third land, Hero's Downfall, or Nissa right now.
And even then, he's taking a lot of damage.
Yep. There's Hero's Downfall.
All right, well, that is the step you said he needed.
Even has to take 1 to cast it.
Yeah, pair of Llanowar Wastes, absolutely right.
Fabilenia will draw a card. Dragonlord Atarka in hand. Forest was the draw.
It's actually a pretty good one. He has enough mana to cast that Atarka. Now.
There's a Temple. Take a look at that top card.
I believe it's just lands and Atarka in his hand right now, so he's just looking for additional threats.
Well, it looks like he found one because he's going to leave that on top. Beatdown time for 6. Holgar's going to go down to 13.
Brutal. The turn 3 Nissa continues to be felt.
What's interesting here, though, is that land can be bricked pretty good by a Siege Rhino. Then again, that Dragonlord Atarka can take care of the Siege Rhino that may or may not be there. Let's see what this is. That's actually pretty helpful, even though it is painful.
3-point Thoughtseize takes Dragonlord Atarka, leaves 2 lands. We'll see what Nathan scried to the top. I think it may have been another Atarka. And that's why he was, that's why there was the pause on it. Do you want a second one? Turns out, yeah, you do want a second one.
Yeah, you do. See if Holgar's going to pass the turn back or not. He's got an Abzan Charm that he looks like he wants to cast.
Yeah, he can Abzan Charm the land, but this is painful.
Yep.
2 damage on himself.
In 2nd place, Austin Palmer. In 3rd place, Dustin Carrier.
See our Legacy Premier IQ, the top 8 is being announced right now. Caleb Scherer ended up making the top 8 of this. I am secretly listening to see if Joe Lissette made the top 8.
In 6th place, Bo Zhang.
There is a mountain. And Thunderbreak Regional was kept.
All right, Gabe down to 6.
And in 8th place, Dustin Buckingham.
And Joe Lissette did not make the top 8 of that tournament. So for Miriam Fabiano, Jessup, and Kevin Jones,
They're safe.
that's good news for them.
You see here, Gabe had left Nathan with no resources. Now Nathan had scryed a card to the top. That was the Thunderbreak Regent. Gabe is very close to stabilizing here, but he may just be short. This swing, unless Gabe has a trick, deals exactly 5, and Fabilenia comes out strong, crawls across the finish line, and ends up getting there.
Hey, you got to tie things up here between Fabilenia and Holgar. So Green Red Dragons, Abzan Aggro, going to get ready for a 3rd game. Holgar's mana base a little painful that game, and Fabilenia able to just ramp right by him.
I mean, turn 3 Nissa on the play is not something that the Abzan decks are particularly able to deal with. Their unconditional removal is very versatile, but it all starts at 3 mana. And that's kind of the problem there, because when Gabe is on the draw, the Nissa comes down before he has 3 mana up. So there's not really a response he can have. You saw he had the downfall on time, and then an Abzan Charm the very next turn, but he had already just taken too much damage.
Well, we will very quickly talk about the Jacob Wilson Monk token. For those of you unfamiliar, he did, of course, win the Season 1 Invitational, did the Fantastic Player. Also had a great documentary on Vice about him. If you guys have not had the opportunity to see that, I definitely recommend that you do. It's a great documentary for players who play Magic or people who don't, who always wonder what we're doing on the weekend. So definitely send them that way. But a fantastic up-and-coming Magic player, one of the very best for how young he is, and he's got this sweet Monk token. You can get it at 20K Open Series events like this one. You can get it with 5K Premier IQs that Joe Lissette, Danny Jessup, Todd Anderson are playing in this weekend. Or orders at StarCityGames.com for $5 or more. $5 is the minimum. I'm really hoping that Monastery Mentor actually, starts to see more play.
Well, 2 weeks ago in Portland, we had a lot of Monastery Mentor running around. Now it's moved back again, but it's been interesting. It hangs out on the fringes.
That card's so good. Like, it's a really powerful card. I was really hoping it would see more play. Not to say that it won't. I mean, it's going to be around for a while. Cons isn't going anywhere, but that was the card that's the one that generated the most excitement from its set when it was spoiled.
I'll be interested to see if that card sees more play when cards like Thoughtseize leave the format.
Okay.
It's hard to play cards that rely on other cards to be good right now because Thoughtseize is around. And Monastery Mentor, despite really being powerful, does require a supporting cast.
This is true. I mean, we have seen that card do some bonkers things, but I think you're right. Like, Thoughtseize and kind of Abzan in general has been kind of maybe holding that card down a little bit.
Abzan's very good at picking apart any sort of synergy. You have to play deck cards that are standalone good if you want to go toe-to-toe with Abzan.
I would say, I don't like that you're an Abzan player now.
No, I mean, I'm not in spirit. It's the control deck.
You can't make a blue deck work. Really?
I really wanted to win. I mean, that happened. You're right. The blue-white deck we saw yesterday is way cooler, but it didn't day two, okay?
Yeah, you could make blue-black work? I'm actually surprised. I mean, blue-black kind of, it feels like it works really hard to win. I will say that.
I don't like blue-black very much right now. No.
And Esper Dragons isn't that much of a control. Like,
I mean, I'd really rather try to make, like, Jeskai Ascendancy combo work. Thoughtseize being in the format has really hurt the combo part of the metagame. Everybody's playing that stupid thing.
That's true. That's true. All right, fair enough, fair enough. I'm sure you've given it a fair shot. Gabe is on 6 cards as we are underway here.
And on the draw, it looks like Nathan has kept a hand that's a lot slower and more reactive, but that may be fine as he's +2 cards, one for being on the draw and one for Gabe's mulligan. Rather than having lots of Elvish Mystics, it looks like he has cards like Roast in his opener and Draconic Roar.
If you're Gabe, you're probably okay with that. I mean, your opponent's not coming out of the gate very quickly like you saw in Game 2, and I think that's one of the ways that Fabilenia actually wins this matchup.
Yeah, Fabilenia, 2 Roasts and a Draconic Roar.
Well, those Roaster basically terminates in this matchup.
Yep. Sorcery speed, but still great.
Yeah, they're going to kill whatever gets played outside of a Wingmate Rock.
But if you kill everything but Wingmate Rock doesn't matter nearly as much.
Yeah. Holgar's going to sacrifice that Windswept Heath. Get a forest, go down to 19. Shuffle and present. Fabilenia will give it a cut real quick, and we'll see his 3rd turn.
Looks like Nathan has picked up a threat. There's a copy of Xenagos in his hand.
There's Anafenza. Holgar has to take 1 to cast it thanks to that Land War Waste, so he's down to 18. Fabilenia will be on tapping and drawing here in just a moment. I have a feeling he may be roasting as well. Thunderbreak Reach at the draw.
Turn 3 here for Nathan. Yep, and there are those terminates. Also roasts.
What's the follow-up? Just going to be a Wooded Foothills past the turn back. Holgar will take a draw. There's another copy of Anafenza. Going to cost a life yet again. Does Gabe have a 4th land? The answer is no. So we go back Nathan's way.
Another Draconic Roar for Fabilenia.
He does have a dragon in hand, too. He has a copy of Thunderbreak Region, so a bunch of removal here.
Looks like he has brought Nylea's Disciple in out of the sideboard for this matchup as well. That one I'm surprised to see.
I'm not in love with that choice, simply because a 3-3 gets outclassed pretty easily from the Abzan aggro deck. I mean, 3-3 is like Fleece Mainline or kind of their baseline threats, and they can actually become bigger than that.
Yeah.
Fabilenia did miss his land drop last turn. Oh no, running Dragonlord Atarkas now.
A little hard on 3 lands, but...
Here's Draconic Roar. I'll show you a Dragonlord Atarka. You better hope I don't get to that.
That said, Gabe's missing the land drops too, so it's fine. Now, if Gabe, say, makes a land drop and starts running his Siege Rhinos out, this game will turn around quickly. This is this race of who can hit land 4 first is really important to the game.
Yes. Does Gabe have something to play? You see an Abzan Charm Fleece Mainline. Hero's Downfall in hand.
Can't cast Downfall, remember.
Yep. He's got options. There's Obs on Charm. It's going to be a painful one. It's actually going to be a 3-point Obs on Charm. 2 because you have to pay 2 to draw the cards.
Tassiger and Hero's Downfall were the draws.
Well, we found the person with the 4th land. It's Nathan Fabilenia. He's going to sacrifice that Wooded Foothills, take 1. I think we're going to have a Thunderbreak region here in just a moment. Could be Xenagos, however.
Yeah, both great options. I said it was going to be important to see who got off 3 lands first. Right now, it looks like it's Fabilenia.
Is it Dragon time?
Well, it's Dragon or Satyr. We'll see which one it is.
I suppose it could be Nylea's Disciple, but I like going the Xenagos Satyr route. Let you power up into that Dragon Lord Atarka that you want to get on the table. He's got 2 copies of that card in his hand.
Yeah, also uncontested. I mean, this forces Gabe to spend his whole turn removing Xenagos if he has the kill spell for it. If Gabe doesn't remove Xenagos, it's very difficult for him to win.
Yeah. There's Fleece Main Lion. Drew that second black source for Hero's Downfall in Caves of Koilos. I'm just going to pass the turn back. You also look at Gabe's life. He's at 9.
Yeah, both his black sources are pain lands.
Yep. There's a Temple.
Options for Fabilenia. Has Nylea's Disciple. He's going to make a Satyr.
I think he might go for Draconic Roar, even though this is not automatic right now.
Draconic Roar revealing Thunderbreak region. I mean, if this hits, it's really strong. I mean, you see Gabe looking at Dromoka's command. As much as this will hurt to cast, he has to cast it.
Yeah, I think he's left without an option here. I absolutely think he has to cast this card. I mean, he has to go down to 7 to cast it just to keep his Fleece Main Line alive. And even with that happening, still bad news.
Yeah, he takes 2 to cast it, goes to 7.
He's going to make it so that Draconic Roar doesn't deal any damage and fight there. I mean, this is a really good Dromoka's command. It's really, really good.
So that negates both halves of the Draconic Roar. So neither the Lion that's a great mode there. The Lion doesn't take 3. He gets rid of a Satyr. It might have been an aggressive line for Nathan to play the Draconic Roar there as opposed to just making a dragon. He opened up a window for Gabe.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't particularly love about the turn is, Draconic Roar, it's so appealing, but, how much does Dromoka's command matter on that turn? Should I just continue to add to my board because I don't have to worry about like a sweeper effect for the most part? Yes, my opponent has access to a Crux of Fate in the sideboard, but I'm not terribly concerned with that.
Yeah, I do think if he just makes a Satyr, makes a dragon, makes the dragon, says go, yes, Gabe's at 9. But I mean, you see right now, the game has moved into Gabe Hoglar's favor. He's going to get to attack Xenagos if he wants to. Nathan then will either have to chump away the Satyr or lose Xenagos. Cards like Hero's Downfall in Gabe's hand are pretty reasonable.
Yeah, things are getting better for Gabe now. I mean, he is at 7. He's going to go down to 6 to cast this Murderous Cut. It's not perfect, but things are getting a little bit better here for Gabe. Gets to kill the Xenagos, as you mentioned, with the Fleece Main Lion.
He's at 6.
Let's make it 5.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're Nathan, because Gabe is choked on mana, Gabe's going to have to be tapping out, and you just don't want your Draconic Roar to get Dromoka's commanded.
Yep.
It's worth too much. It's a creature, and it's 3 of Gabe's life points. That said, Nathan's getting very close to Atarka's, so that could certainly do a number as well.
Yeah, Atarka is like this horrifying ticking time bomb. If I ever drop my 7th land, I have an 8/8 on the way. In the meantime, here's a Thunderbreak region, which is bigger than your entire board. If you want to kill it, you have to take 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways that Nathan can just win here. For a second Thunderbreak region may just be impossible for Gabe to deal with without going to 0. He has copies, I believe, of Self-Inflicted Wound. No, wait, sorry, that doesn't take care of Regent. It's not green or white. I'm not sure he has a way to get the Regent off the board without taking 3.
Outside of combat, there's really not a great way to do that.
I don't think Nathan's going to be blocking. He's got some life points to work with.
In we go.
All right, well, let's see. Let's see if Nathan will let you kill the Regent in combat.
You couldn't pay me to block if I was Nathan. There's not a dollar amount. And he is not blocking either.
Oh, he can't even downfall the Regent because both his black mana sources are pain lands still.
Yep.
So that would cost him 5. So he's going to have to take the 4 off the Regent and then somehow win next turn.
Yes. He is in the hardest of locks right now. I hope you forget Yep, and
There
Gabe
you
knows
go. That
he's
was
beat.
that. So he goes for the out of. I hope this works.
Yep.
Just don't do it. So Nathan Fabilenia takes both the sideboard games and Green-Red Dragons, then the 1 seed all the way into the finals.
Congratulations, Nathan Fabilenia taking down Gabe Holgar. He can breathe a sigh of relief. He's got one more match to play. #1 overall seed. Can he get by John Lim playing Abzan Control? Did not expect to see this kind of performance from Green-Red Dragons.